Welcome to Baz Travels. After driving 14,826 kilometers through 24 states and Washington, D.C., I've seen rocket launches to the Grand Canyon and Hoover Dam. I've explored Route 66, ghost towns, deserts, snow, and beaches on both coasts. From Vegas casinos to Alcatraz, the White House to Hollywood. Join me for a journey of the ordinary and the extraordinary.
Loading destination. Simulation starting in 3, 2, 1. To look around, move your phone or tablet. Click and drag if on a computer or move your head if using a VR headset. Please like and subscribe.
I'm walking near and past the Denver Pavilions, right in the heart of downtown. This is one of the city's most deliberately commercial spaces, built to concentrate entertainment, retail, and foot traffic into a single stretch, rather than letting it spread unpredictably through the surrounding blocks. The pavilions were developed in the late 1990s as part of an effort to reactivate downtown Denver. At the time, the city was trying to pull activity back into the core by creating spaces that encourage people to stay after work hours. This complex was designed to do that by stacking restaurants, cinemas, and shopping into one controlled environment. What's noticeable immediately is how different this space feels from nearby streets. The design is inward facing. Activity is drawn into courtyards, entrances, and internal walkways rather than spilling outward. That creates pockets of energy rather than continuous street rhythm. Security presence and lighting are more obvious here than surrounding blocks. The space is actively managed. That management shapes behavior. People linger longer inside the complex than they do on adjacent sidewalks, even though the location is central. The pavilions sit next to some of Denver's busiest pedestrian routes, yet they feel partially separated from the city around them. That separation is intentional. The complex functions almost like a buffer between curated downtown activity and the less controlled streets nearby. Walking past, you can sense how this area is meant to operate during peak hours. When events are on, restaurants are full, or the cinema is active. The space becomes dense and lively. Outside those windows, the energy drops quickly. The design depends heavily on timing. This reliance on scheduled activity is important. Unlike older commercial streets that function continuously, the pavilion performs best when demand is high. When it's quiet, the scale feels larger and emptier. The movement becomes more transitional than social. The surrounding blocks highlight that contrast. Just steps away, downtown Denver returns to mixed use. Offices, transit stops, vacant storefronts, and service businesses all overlapping. The pavilion's attempts to simplify that complexity by creating a predictable zone on consumption. That predictability is both the strength and limitations of the space. It provides structure and safety cues, but it also isolates activity. The complex doesn't knit seamlessly into the city grid. It sits within it, but doesn't fully belong to it. Walking past the Denver Pavilions, you're seeing a specific moment in Denver's urban strategy. It reflects an era when the city tried to revitalize downtown by concentrating entertainment rather than rebuilding streets organically. The pavilions still function, but they also show how carefully managed space aged differently from the city around them. Downtown Denver keeps changing. This complex remains largely the same, operating on the same assumptions it was built with. Passing through this area, the contrast is clear. The city outside is adaptive and uneven. The pavilions are controlled and contained. Together, they show two different approaches to keeping a downtown active: one organic, one designed.
Simulation terminated. Please comment, like and subscribe.